Critical hit Punch All Nazis takes place in the early days of World War II and combines high adventure with cosmic horror. All dates, locations, and historical events are thrown out the window in order to create a fun story, so don't put too much thought into historical inaccuracies. All accents are done poorly, but with love, and no disrespect is intended. From the redacted diary of Sally Armitage, top secret, Majestic 12 clearance only, March 15th, 1954. Lately I've been thinking of the events following the formation of Majestic over a decade ago. Had I known what horrors we would uncover and what horrors we unleashed on the world, I never would have agreed to join Roosevelt's organization. Still, had it not been for Maddie, Chloe, Bernie, and me, Roosevelt and Truman would have been swayed by the warmongers in the group to use the power of redacted presidential clearance only, and the world would have fallen under its power. I'm still not comfortable with the direction Oppenheimer and his luminaries ended up taking the Manhattan Project, but here we are. I believe President Eisenhower understands that we still must be vigilant of those who continue to poke and prod at the veil in hopes of bringing redacted presidential clearance only into our world when he spoke of atoms for peace. I know he's really hoping to extend the power of the atom across the world in case we need to take up arms against the Black Sun and redacted presidential clearance only again. In those early days, we were still so unaware of what we were dealing with. From the academic side, it was thrilling as discoveries were being made every day. From having access to our very own redacted presidential clearance only, to utilizing the redacted presidential clearance only, to power our weaponry, and even Chloe unleashing the Psi-Force on the Black Sun and Noctwolf forces. I'm sure to this day Churchill is still fuming that we one-upped his Section M with that one. The discovery of redacted presidential clearance only and the doorways to redacted presidential clearance only would have turned the scientific world on its ear if only we could have shared our knowledge and discoveries with them. I'm sure whoever is reading this journal now has already taken the black pen to my words. Hello, dear reader. My biggest regret is what we did to those boys. They came into the secret war by accident, not knowing what was going on, and even after they confronted the insanity of these cosmic entities and monsters from beyond, they were still so rough around the edges. Blisco let the president's men take redacted presidential clearance only, one of the most important weapons we could have, and never asked for it back. I had to hand it to him before we sent him off on his next mission. On the plus side, because we did have unrestricted access to the weapon, it did give us a chance to study it and develop our own alternatives, giving us a slight advantage against Weisler and his cult. And had things gone differently, and we knew the extent of the Black Sun's horrors and the Noctwolf's technical expertise, the war might have ended sooner. We, in parentheses Majestic, were so damn arrogant in believing we were right every step of the way. We never considered the consequences. Carlos and Nathaniel seemed to handle the early missions well enough, though I think they suffered in a way that never showed on the outside. Those scars ran too deep. And to this day, I'm still convinced the events of the early encounters with redacted presidential clearance only drove Nicholas further into his madness. Thinking back, I never would have sent them to redacted presidential clearance only without properly preparing them mentally and physically. This is where I close things for today. My melancholy always grows this time of year when I think of all the deaths that could have been prevented. Of course, the dreams are not helping, which leads me to believe that more trouble is on the way. Tomorrow I leave for Argentina to investigate the discovery of a cache of redacted presidential clearance only that Generals Doolittle and Harris discovered in a bunker while flushing out more of her cult. Sally Armitage. You are standing on the platform of the train station. It is raining, and there is a man there standing by a limousine, and he opens the door to beckon you in. His name is Arthur Morris.
Well, let's proceed.
Okay. You all climb into the back, and in the back seat is sitting Sally Armitage. Hello, boys. Welcome to England.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
I wanted to welcome you personally, but I understand you were diverted to a different mission, which I'm guessing was successful. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, it was
I'm-
pretty successful.
I have been designated as the civilian leader for Majestic, and I'm going to oversee all of your initial deployments into the field. And so you're going to need to be taking orders from me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Is that a problem for any of you? She kind of looks at you, Doc.
Not for me.
Good. And the car is driving along, and you're driving through the countryside of England. And again, it's raining. It's starting to get late in the day. Have you heard that Brigadier Hennessy and his company have fled France?
We had, yeah.
Okay, good. Apparently, the Germans are amassing on the border, and intelligence suggests that they are about to invade any day. We are going to be heading to Clemens Park, which is the headquarters for Section M. And it's you got about 10 minutes before you get there if you guys wanted to talk about anything.
Carlos will turn to Blisco and be like, "Hey, Blisco, how you feeling?"
Was I feeling any sort of effects while on
Uh,
this area, Jen? Stephen, like mostly this is a. It's been a couple of weeks since we.
Yeah,
last
no,
did
I think
anything,
you
and
were
I
just
don't
more
remember
surprised that you were feeling these areas that were a lot softer, and nobody else was, feeling those things.
Okay, physically I'm fine. Still a little concerned about the soft space.
right.
What soft space?
At the back of the trenches, there was the wall felt kind of pliable, like not.
It wasn't just mud.
No, it was
No,
pretty solid for me.
Curious. And who's sitting next to Sally?
Oh, definitely me.
All right, Doc, you can see her. She's got a little note pad on her lap, and you see her write the word Dover and then underline it twice. Anything else interesting happen while you were taking care of this ghoul problem?
Well,
Mm.
there were some creatures that seemed to be a complete contravention of the inverse square principle, which makes me think that something hinky was going on.
What do you mean?
Ants should
larger.
not be able to get that big, or at least not get that big and walk.
Ants.
Ants, yes.
Okay. She writes down in tiny words ants ? And then she doodles a little crazy face next to that. Did the rest of you see these ants?
Yeah, we
yeah,
fought
we-
those.
Okay.
We're in the same area as the
Soft spot.
soft wall.
They
I
Okay.
can draw you a map when we're not moving anymore.
All right.
Different planes of reality intersecting could theoretically cause some sort of portal, or I mean, Dr. West would refer to it as the veil terror.
We're not gonna speak of that name. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Okay.
Presumably, if we had a few hours on the train before we got to Kent,
Mhm.
We would have probably put together like actual reports.
Yeah.
So I'll just like gather them up and hand them to her.
Ah, good. I see you're doing reports. That's very good of you. The more information we have, the better we will be able to deal with these ants. Anyway, here we are. And you are a couple of miles outside of the city of Kent, and you enter a sprawling estate. This estate, Carlos, makes yours pale in comparison.
Sure.
This is Biggin Hill, and it's, you see the sign outside that says Clement Park. It is a beautiful neoclassical building. It's made of sturdy red brick. It's got gardens throughout, meticulously trimmed. There are new outbuildings, smaller buildings, larger buildings. None of them, they all pale in comparison to the size of the main building. And you see that there are people just moving about from building to building. Some are dressed in military uniforms. Some are wearing white overcoats as if they are scientists. And you pull up to the front door of the main brick building, and the car stops. The chauffeur gets out and opens the door. Sally steps out first. Thank you, Arthur. And she leads you all inside the building. As you enter the ground floor, it really looks very much like a traditional English manor. There's a reception room. There's a drawing room. As you walk through, you can see a billiards room, and these are thick carpets, leather chairs. These rooms are designed to accommodate guests and visitors of high ranking.
Does this look like it's an existing facility that they've revamped?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. This is something that has been here, for a very, very long time. This estate has either been taken by the government or someone who has a lot of influence and money is setting up Section M here. And then Sally leads you into the back, and you pass through. I mean, you must have already passed through a dozen rooms already. And then you pass in through another doorway in the back, and you are now in an exquisite 2-story library. The walls, I mean, this has got to be easily 30 feet by 60 feet in size. That is how big this library is. It would make many libraries across the United States pale in comparison and be jealous. There's wrought iron railing running along the second floor, and there are iron spiral staircases going up to those floors. And there are tables spread out throughout this area where people are working, and there are big, plush, comfortable leather chairs that people are sitting and reading, and people are going over books. And in the middle is a large table with a map on it. And standing there is a man. He's fairly young. He looks about 35, 40. And he turns as you all enter, and he goes, yes, gentlemen, welcome to Clemens Park. I'm Alexander Ward Gray. I'm the Viscount of Towton. Welcome to my humble home. It is so very nice to meet you. And this guy, Rodrigo, Carlos, thinks that he dresses nice and has only the finest of clothing. The clothing that Alex is wearing makes you feel like a person who is homeless and has to get his clothes from the trash bin.
From the garbage.
Yeah, that is how fine his clothing is.
I have to make moths throw up the clothes that they'd bidden and stitch that together.
Yes.
With your filthy garbage clothing.
Disgusting hands.
He does shake it. He goes, he kind of pauses when he does shake your hand. Oh, Carlos Arbogast. Yes.
Yes.
I've heard many things about you. Welcome. Gentlemen, you're probably wondering what I'm doing here. I'm actually the person who created Section M. Because the government wouldn't listen to me. I've been working on them for, I don't know, since I came into my family's estate, some 10 years or so ago. Just barely out of my knee-high pants at the time, and I've been trying to convince the government that this Whistler business is bad news for everyone as they attempt to unleash, the power of, and he kind of lowers his voice, of Yog-Sothoth. Yes. Mm-hmm. So we have to be very careful, but finally now that everyone understands, and Churchill finally understands the importance of taking on the Black Sun, I have built up this organization here and have welcomed them with open arms as we continue to take on those bastards. Of course, using my own funds to finance this entire thing as I understand, and he looks at Sally, I understand that you are partially responsible, Mr. Arbogast, for getting Majestic off the ground.
Yes, I suppose I am. Although that wealth came about in a slightly different direction.
Yes, I'm aware. I've read your father's file. Ah, here's Dr. Parker. And everyone turns, and a man walks up. He is wearing a white lab coat, and he's got bushy hair sticking out in all directions, and he's got a pair of glasses on his nose and a pair of glasses resting on top of his head. And behind him are two giggling young men acting like they've just heard the funniest joke in the world. Valentino, you recognize them as Antoine and Pontus.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, Nathaniel, it's so good to see you. Oh, welcome. We were expecting you yesterday. What happened?
Oh, we got reassigned on a quick side mission.
Oh, it must have been fascinating. Anything exciting happen?
Lots of
Oh,
exciting things happened. You
yeah.
should have a
Oh,
look
I'm
at
sure.
Blisco when you get the chance.
And everybody turns and looks at Blisco.
Huh?
Yes, right. Dr. Parker is in charge of all the research that we're doing here, and since Antoine and Pontus have come our way, then they will officially be working for Section M for us under the direction of Dr. Parker. Yes, these boys seem to have a lot of understanding of the situation, and I'm glad that we have them on our side. Who knows what would have happened if the Nazis would have taken them in Paris. And at that moment, the Brigadier walks in from an adjoining room. Ah, boys, welcome back. And he comes over and he shakes each of your hands.
Mm.
Pity we couldn't have been meeting back in Paris, but we had to flee there very quickly. As you understand, the Germans, I'm afraid, are about to take over. They have some kind of new military strategy that we fear if they did cross the border would reach Paris too soon for us to make an escape with our, and he looks around at everybody here, with our assets.
Makes sense.
And then Sally is like, while cleaning out the ghoul infestation, the boys said that they may have found a portal in Dover. Oh, really? Oh, it's good. Where? And he goes over and he circles a spot on the map. Dover, was it? Yes? Can you pinpoint it exactly, please, Blisco?
Yeah.
Ye-
Do we have a smaller map?
Yeah, the whole giant table that you are all gathered around is a map of Europe, and it is very detailed. In fact, there is a section on the United Kingdom that does include Dover, and you can even see kind of close to the area where you were at.
Right. Well, if what we think is in a old enclosed trenches over here.
Oh,
There.
yeah, this is where, and he turns to Brita, isn't this where you're installing your aircraft anti-defense guns? Oh, well, yes, it is. And this is very interesting. Oh, yes. I'll have to send Harris after that and have him investigate a little bit more.
Yeah, if you can grab us the map of the. Do we still have? We would have gotten rid of the map that we had while we were down there, right?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Do you? It looks like Dutch, because he was probably the one with the map, I would assume.
Sure.
Do you still have the map?
But yeah, here you go.
Okay.
It was up in this corner is where I guess a possible portal. All right.
And
The
Dr.
wall was
Parker,
soft for me, but not for them.
Dr. Parker looks at you, Blisco, and then he casts a silent glance over to the Brigadier, and they both kind of raise their eyebrows on this. You hear Antoine say, "Oh, Blisco, only you felt it.
Yeah.
Interesting." And Valentino, did you feel anything?
I investigated the wall. It seemed fully solid to me.
Okay. And then Pontus walks over and he grabs your arm, Blisco, and he rolls up the sleeve. Has this been giving you any problems? And he points to the bite mark scar on your arm.
Is Blisco aware of the connection between that and the urge to go to the Paris Underground?
Why don't you roll
Like-
I mean, I think you do. I think that is the reason why everybody's been asked to keep an eye on you, because
Okay.
they know that you were bitten by a ghoul.
Did Rob mention out loud? Weren't there voices that you were hearing in the trenches, or am I imagining something else?
Were there voices? I don't remember. I know that the ghouls were like addressing him.
yeah, the ghouls were
directly.
addressing me directly.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
calling me brother.
I
Yeah,
thought
that's
you
very
heard
interesting.
somebody whispering "brother" before they were there. He said out of character.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to go back and listen to that. I don't remember. I do know that when you were close to the soft area, that you thought you heard sounds and noises and felt a breeze.
That may be what it is.
So we did say I was aware that
That they were
Just-
concerned about the bite.
what did you ask? Boy, my brain is going to 14 different directions at
Yeah.
once.
Pontus
He
asks
just
if the
knows
bite
it.
has been giving you
Yeah.
any problems.
Were you asking for a roll for me to figure out if
No,
I had
I
made
was
the
going
connection?
to. I was going to, but no, you.
Okay,
No, you have made that connection.
because I had started to type it or type
Yeah,
in the
no.
roll.
No,
stuff.
you're okay. You're okay.
Right. Other than the, I guess, urge to join the ones down or go to the Paris Underground, this hasn't affected me. Well,
And Pontus and Antoine and Dr. Parker all exchange glances with one another. We'll have to keep an eye on this.
Yeah.
You'll keep an eye on him, won't you, Valentino?
Oh yeah.
All right. Very good.
but that's only been a thing while we were actually in Paris.
There's a silence, and Dr. Parker's like, yes, well, yes, that's good to know. And he pulls a pencil from his ear and pulls out a notepad from his pocket and it starts writing something down. And Sally looks at everyone. Is there something that I should be aware of? You were bitten
What?
by a ghoul?
Yeah, I'll keep the sleeve up and turn to show her. Yeah, I got a scar.
This is something that we were not told. And she looks sternly at the brigadier. Well, certainly information can get lost in the exchange. It's coded secrets and all. That's probably it. Uh-huh.
Also, when
Oh.
he didn't immediately turn into a ghoul, we kind of figured it was okay.
Yeah, that one.
I will have to send Maddie on some research on this. Towton, is there a problem with her using these facilities? No, not at all. She can do whatever she likes. She has free access anyway here. Okay, thank you. And then the brigadier is like, well, anyway, down to business. We have brought all of the artifacts here, and they're stationed in a secure location here in the building. And so I think, and you see him kind of reach up and fondle a spot on his chest. So I think we don't have anything to worry about here. However, we are concerned about the other items, and we're curious if you discovered anything while you were in America.
Yes, we have discovered at least the general location of all of the items.
Ah, that's good. Where are they?
Well, let's see. We have the mask.
Mm-hmm.
We have the
And-
tablet.
And you guys, as you look at the big giant map on the table, you can see that there is a spot marked in Egypt where you guys discovered the mask.
So Dutch will point at Kentucky.
Yeah, they don't have that map here,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately.
He'll
They're
point
only
at the-
concerned with Europe.
Off the table this
I-
direction a ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dutch will point at that couch over there. Kentucky. We found the tablet. We believe there is a flute in Holland.
And you see Dr. Parker pull out a thick red pen and put a X on Holland.
Okay. We have the orb, which we found in Italy.
And there's already an X there.
We have the book. Where did we find the book?
Massachusetts.
In Arkham.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, that's
right.
from our. She says yes, that's from our library. Oh, really?
Right.
Very good. Very good.
And then the last few items should be in Romania.
And throughout the room, you just hear a kind of sound. And
it gets worse.
Dr. Parker puts a big red circle around the country of Romania.
And then St. Petersburg, Russia.
Okay, and there's a X now on Russia.
And the Black Forest in Germany.
Yes.
Well, now, this is Towton speaking. Yes. Well, the German one is going to be a bit of a problem, as is the Romania, but I think being able to track down the one in Holland and in St. Petersburg should be no problem, right, boys?
Sure.
Do you know where to look for these other two items in Holland and St. Petersburg?
Probably. Let me check my notes.
We know that the flute is in a ship.
Okay.
We figure there can't be more than 300 or 400 miles of shoreline.
And is that where you're heading next?
That was our plan.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I was hoping that you were going to talk with me about it first, but perhaps, Ms. Armitage, they've already discussed this matter with you. Not really, but I trust Mr. Arbogast's choice. Yes, you might want to address him as Sergeant Arbogast. Oh, very well. Sorry, Sergeant Arbogast.
No, that's not necessary.
Anyway, yes, I suppose you're going to Holland. When are you planning on leaving?
Well, again, I'd like for our what's the technical term? Bookworms to take a look at Blisco and see if he's doing okay. And also see if you guys have anything in the library about the ship that we're supposed to be looking for, or any clues about that.
And at that, you just hear Antoine just burst out laughing. I'm sorry, but you are aware that the Dutch basically ruled the oceans for hundreds of years with their shipping industry, and you're asking us to find out more about a ship from Holland.
Dutch will pull out what's his name? Deep Satan? No, that wasn't.
Mr. Underhill.
Mr. Underhill.
He'll pull out Underhill's diary, and
what is this?
He goes to he briefly goes to throw it at Pontus, but then just hands it to him here for cross-referencing.
What is this? And he starts flipping through. Oh my God.
Yeah. This is the diary of one of the luminaries, the one that we found in Kentucky. This man is still alive.
Well, what? He's still a what?
Well, okay.
Miss Armitage,
he's still walking around and talking.
Yeah, if you can refer to Report Underhill there.
Yeah.
I'm aware that you haven't been informed of everything. Remember, coded messages take time to be received, probably lost. In the meantime, we have one of our agents, Chloe, going down to investigate. Everything will be fine. We will fill more people in as we have the information. Yes, indeed. Well, everyone fancy a spot of tea? And Taunton snaps his fingers, and a man standing at the door kind of bows, and he goes out a door, and he all ushers everyone to sit down at a group of leather-bound couches and chairs, and I think we all just need to take a moment and take a deep breath and relax.
Sure.
And a moment later, a tea cart is wheeled out, and you hear a chime hitting 2:00, and sure enough, tea is served exactly at 2, and you all are sitting there with your tea and cakes, and it is a very quiet moment.
Add a few heaping teaspoons of sugar here.
Yep, I think everybody kind of does that. Somebody pours some milk in. How do you take your
Definitely
tea?
milk.
How do you take your tea, Doc?
Milk, 3 sugars.
Okay. And Blisco, how do you take your tea?
Iced in a bottle.
Yeah. Blisco will just kind of follow the lead of the other people, because he doesn't drink a lot of tea, and like, what's this person doing? Okay, I'll do
milk and sugar, and a little biscuit to go along with it.
Yeah, but like everybody's putting, so like he'll just like look around to see everybody doing something different and just kind of pick one to copy.
Okay. Who do you copy?
Probably the brigadier, because he's
Okay.
the most important person in the room, right?
I would argue that Alex Taunton is probably the most important person in the room, since he is the absolute head and founder of all things Section M. But yeah, if you want to follow the brigadier because of military, that's fine. And you see that he does indeed put in a couple of scoops of sugar, and seems to pour an inordinate amount of milk into that glass. You're wondering how so much milk fit into an already full cup of tea, but somehow the brigadier manages it and takes a sip and is like, yes, this is a good cup. Let's see. Carlos, what about you? How do you take your tea?
Just 2 sugars.
All right. And Valentino?
Yeah, 3 sugars and maybe a little glug or 2 from a hidden flask, if I can.
Oh yeah, sure. And you're
Sneak
sitting
it.
you're sitting on the couch next to Antoine, and he kind of bumps you a little bit and holds his cup out to you as well.
Give a little
No one
smirk
seems to
and
pay attention.
pour a little in there. A little for you, a little for me.
A little more for Santa Claus.
Viscount, the brigadier finally speaks up. Viscount, pardon me for saying so, but you look a little haggard today. And he's like, "Oh, I was hoping. Yes, I was hoping to not bring attention to that." And now you guys can all clearly see he has these dark circles under his eyes, and people who are very keen on their appearance, Carlos, notice that his hair is maybe not in the perfect part that you would expect. This guy does look kind of tired. I think with all the
Looks fine to
stress,
me.
I've been not sleeping well is all. A few nightmares here and there, but I think otherwise yes, I think it's just stress. Nothing to worry about. Of course. Thank you for asking, though. And the brigadier just kind of nods and smiles, and he looks over at Dr. Parker, and everybody just seems to be like doing these knowing glances to one another. Like there are things that people want to say, but they're in too polite of society to say things. And so it's just all knowing look this, knowing look that. It's very weird for the 4 of you who have been in the military system where you're ordered to do this and people are screaming at you to do that. This is really weird. This is like being at an uncomfortable relative's house, somebody who your family doesn't care for, but you still have to go visit them at Christmas. Meanwhile, Pontus is carefully flipping through this book. Are you saying that this is Mr. Underhill's book?
We believe so, yes.
Fascinating. Well, he does speak of the artifacts going into different directions, but he doesn't have exact locations. He does mention something about the boathouses in the Netherlands. Hold on one moment. And he gets up and he walks over to the big map. Antoine, come here, please. Can you make sure you're translating this correctly? My German is not as good as yours is. And Antoine goes over and they're looking at this and they're referencing some things on the map. And then one of them goes over and finds a book on the wall and pulls it off and brings it over to the table and it opens it up and they're flipping through and they're pointing and okay, yes. Okay. How many of you have been to Horn?
Is that a city?
It is a city. Hoorn. It is north of Amsterdam by, I don't know, many miles. Let's just say that.
I
7
haven't.
Okay.
Nor have I.
Well,
During the early 14th and 15th centuries, Holland was a place where they built all the ships. That's where everyone went out to sail and open the trade routes and everything. And from what we can tell, there were most of the boats were being built in a city called Horn. It's got a nice and if you guys want to wander over where he's standing at the
Sure.
table, he's pointing on the map and he's like, as you can see, the bay enters here, and this would have been a very natural, protected area for everyone to build their ships and get them out to sea. And there is a map there in the chat for you guys. I might start there, although it could be really anywhere. Yes, we only have certain records. Records from that long ago were not as easily accessible as one might think. You understand, right, Nathaniel?
oh yes, yeah. Well, I guess just keep looking. We'll start there, and if you dig up any more leads, let us know. We'll
Yes.
check in regularly.
Yes. And then the door bursts open and a very thin man enters. This guy he's probably 6'3", 6'4". He is stick thin. He is pale as a ghost. And he is wearing like a big flowing cloak around him and it's got a hood on it as well. And he's kind of dressed all in like leather. And he just kind of walks in, looks at everyone, and everyone's kind of pauses for a moment, like, Valentino, if you would, roll me a insight plus observation, D1.
Alrighty.
Oh, 2 successes. Very good. You get a momentum.
All right.
Possibly, what were you going to say?
Maybe even 3 successes if instincts or sight is applicable.
Yeah, instinct. We'll allow that. So we'll give you a second momentum there. You notice that Pontus and Antoine are visibly scared by this guy. Like,
kind of
like if you guys were ever bullied in high school, they have this look of nerds who get beat up by the jocks. Look upon them. And this man just walks in. Hello. You asked me to bring these, even though these are not my responsibilities, Brigadier. And he throws some boxes onto the big table, knocking down a couple of flags strategically placed on the border between Germany and France. And he just looks at everyone and he sees the group of you. Oh, are these them? And he can tell you he's just looking his nose down at you like with disgust. One of you is apparently the magic user. No?
Yeah.
Good. And he turns around and his cape just kind of flourishes out behind him, and he goes walking out the door, and it slams behind him.
Is that why you don't want us to go to Romania?
No, that he's a little what's the word? Persnickety? That's Major Seraph. He's our resident magic expert.
Seraph
He's-
like an angel, or Seraph like a font?
Ceraph. He's just prickly, is all. Yes, well.
Similar to the word I would use.
Oh, what's that?
That is similar to the word I would use.
Yes, well. Anyway, we understand that you didn't have any weapons with you when you landed at Dover, and so we want to correct that now. Knowing that you are headed to Holland and it's a populated area, I think that it's best that we don't send you in with rifles and machine guns and shotguns and grenades.
Sure.
And so the first thing that he gives you, each of you, is he gives you some boxes that contain pistols. And you can all see this. This is a high standard HDM pistol. It is a handgun for close range, close quarters attack. But the one thing that you notice about this is that not only is it a semi-automatic pistol, but it has an extension on the barrel of the gun. Not too long, maybe about 4 inches or so. Guns can be rather loud, as you know. These have been equipped with sound suppressors that should keep some of the noise down should you run into any troubles.
Okay.
The next thing that he pulls out is a series of knives that are in a casing. For times when guns are not useful, we have found, especially Harris and his men, have found using a knife can be very good in a fight. And so he hands you all knives. These are probably blades that, with the handle, are probably about 7-8 inches long. So handle about 4 or 5 inches. The blade about 5 or 6 inches. So a fairly big knife. This is a melee weapon, and it is something that you can easily hide. You notice that both sides of the blade have been sharpened to a razor edge. I'm sure it's not what you're used to with your American weapons, but I'm sure you will figure this one out. Point, pull the trigger, shoot, stabby, stabby. And then you hear Towton kind of snicker laugh. One more thing, boys. And Sally pulls out a bigger wooden box, and she slides it down the table to you, Blisco. Blisco, when you were in Washington, D.C., you let the president's men take prototype X1 from you, and you didn't ask for it back. In the future, try not to lose track of this weapon. And if you open up the case, Blisco, you can see there is prototype X1.
Yay.
It is prototype X1. It has been out of your sight for almost 5 days now.
Yes. It will be like clutched to me until I have a moment to actually sit down, break it down, and re-examine it myself.
Okay. All right. You hear another chime. It's been about an hour now, and people start to move around. You hear more activity in the house as people move around. As you look outside, you can see some soldiers practicing fighting. In fact, they are using some knife techniques on one another to see how they respond to hand-to-hand combat. These obviously would not be real knives. And you can see what looks like a giant stone arch down one of the hills. You can't tell if it's an arch or if it's a giant circle. But That's out there that you can see through the window as well. Well, gentlemen, you have, do you know when you're going to leave? You seem to have a location and a destination. Did you need anything else from us here at Section M? We're more than happy to accommodate you. In fact, we've got rooms for the night if anyone wants to stick around. Get a good night's rest. I'm sure you need it. And he says that while looking at you, Doc.
I think we'd like to get a night's rest of, at least. And again, I don't know if anybody needs to further talk to Blisco about the stuff that he did before he leaves.
Oh, yes. You hear Pontus say, and he springs up, and Dr. Parker also is very keen on checking out your bite marks.
But yes, we can leave first thing tomorrow if that's...
And at that instant, you hear the rumblings of a giant plane flying over the house. Interesting that, says Towton. The Royal Air Force Base is right next door. Unfortunately, it's a little bit loud at times, but it's going to give you quick access anywhere that you need to go. So yes, tomorrow we can definitely fly you to Amsterdam, and there you can get a train to Horn, I imagine. I don't think Nazis have invaded there yet, have they? And you see the Brigadier shake his head no. We would send you by ship, but damn U-boats are sinking every ship that we have.
Oh, that's bad.
Yes, indeed. We've lost very good men, very good ships. They're setting us back when the real war begins.
Okay, all right.
Well, I guess, Mr. Blisco, if you would go with Dr. Parker, the rest of you have free reign around the grounds.
Thanks.
Okay.
And so, Blisco, you go with Dr. Parker and Antoine and Pontus, and they take you down to a laboratory. You see down there that there are all sorts of people in lab coats testing different things. There are, Jacob's ladders and Tesla coils and zoomy things and balls of plasma with the fingers sticking out and touching the globes all around the edge. There looks to be something like hairs sprouting out from the center, and they keep changing colors as they rotate around. This is a very high-tech scientific lab. You do notice that the doctor, and I forget his name myself off the top of my head, but the doctor from France, when Section M was in France, you recognize that he is there looking at some specimen under a microscope, and Dr. Parker has you sit up on a table. Take off your shirt there, Blisco, if you would. And for the next hour or so, they poke at you, they prod at you. Have you been sleeping well?
Yeah.
Hunger? How is your hunger?
Normal. A lot,
Mm.
but that's not
Eating
weird.
a lot. Okay.
Fine.
And all the while, Pontus and Antoine are taking measurements and pictures of the bite mark on your arm, and they're comparing it to another photo that they took initially when you first bit, and they're comparing it to see if it's healed any. You hear a lot of hms and ha-has and strokings of chins and clucking of tongues and things. Do you have any strange desires that you didn't have before you came to Europe?
The only one was what I had mentioned about wanting to get back to the catacombs in Paris, but that's only if I'm in Paris. I haven't felt the need to get back there since.
Okay,
Didn't feel any weird needs while I was dealing with these ones.
They take your temperature multiple different ways,
Mm.
and they nod and they approve. They put you under a fluoroscope and look at your insides, and they also, for whatever reason, take measurements of the size of your head. And they look in your mouth and look at your teeth and make sure that you have all of your teeth.
I mean, you can't have a lab that has like Jacob's ladders and stuff and not break out the calipers, right?
I know, right? You see some strange man in the corner. He's got like this really giant device on his head, and it's got vacuum tubes all over. And he's like, circle. Wrong. Damn. Hold on. Let me think. Wavy lines. Wrong. Damn. And then they're like, okay, well, you're free to go. Let's go.
Okay.
So that's about the hour that you endured.
Mm.
What do the rest of you do for
Um,
the rest of your day? You were told that dinner is served promptly at 7. You're all welcome to join the Viscount and the rest of the upper echelon of Section M to dinner, if you like.
okay. As soon as we uh, break, Dutch is gonna find like a table, take out his new pistol, and basically go through the process of like, I don't know, going through it, checking
Yeah,
it. Did you
cleaning
say it
it
was
and
like
everything.
clip based?
Yes.
Yeah, like getting a feel for it, ejecting the clip, checking, putting it
A
back.
man walks over to you, and he's got these spectacles and suspenders and a high collar, and he's got you can tell he's a fop man.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, Sir, there's a firing range just outside. If you would like to go use it out there.
Oh, I might. Thank you.
And he kind of goes back to whatever research that he is doing.
Yeah, this is probably a pretty fast process. Does it fit into my uh shoulder holster?
It does. It's a little uncomfortable just because of the silencer bit, but
Right.
yeah, it's very concealable. If you to
Okay.
walk around the house and find a mirror, which there are plenty, you will see that there is no bulge whatsoever in your
Okay.
jacket pocket.
Great.
And the
Yep.
knife also can fit either in your pocket, it can fit strapped to your leg. It can be tucked behind your belt in the back if you want, but that's kind of pokey. You may not want that when you sit down, but the
Right.
guns and the knives can be easily concealable. The only way someone's going to find it is if you are frisked.
Okay. Um, did you say this is like a stabbing people knife, right? It's not like a
Oh yeah,
utility
this is
knife
a
of any
stabbing
kind.
people knife. This is a
Yeah.
gutting people knife. This is a
Okay.
slitting throats kind of knife.
Right. Right.
As the
Okay.
brigadier said, it's definitely a stabby knife.
All right. I'm gonna try to find somebody to give me an ankle strap for it.
Okay, so you're going to have to go find the armory, and sure enough, you walk out one of the side doors. Someone points you down to one of the newer constructed buildings. It's a long building, and when you enter this wooden building, you can tell that this is also the firing range. That they have an indoor firing range,
Ooh.
and there's a man that is sitting there, and he looks you over, and he is able to get you. He's able to get you the necessary knife holders. And he mentions that, oh, you have got one of them guns, eh? Would you like to take a quick shot? And sure enough, there's some targets down at the end. There's like 2 stalls that you can do practice indoor target shooting. A bunch of sandbags piled up on the back of the wall on the building. And as you look, one of them is in the shape of a ghoul, and the other one is in the shape of a Nazi.
Of course. The two genders.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, we'll go over and take a couple of shots, see how it
Yeah,
feels.
this gun handles very, very well. You feel, and it's surprisingly quiet. Normally, when you fire a gun, you're very accustomed to this bang bang kind of loud sound that would echo in any place else. But this one is more like the sound of a door closing, so more like a bung, and it's very quiet. And the armorer is just kind of smiling and nodding. That's a good one, eh?
Oh yeah, I never used one of these before. Do I need to take special care at cleaning this silencer part?
No, no. Clean it like you would a normal gun. You'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
And
I'll let
then
you
we'll
know.
like,
Okay.
walk around and do whatever till dinner.
All right. It's interesting. There's these gardens, these very high-end English gardens that you could wander through if you wanted to do that. There's places to go and relax. You could go back into the main library if you wanted to read books. Um, there's basically anything that you would want to do to occupy your time is here.
Yeah.
Valentino or Doc?
Oh, I think I would find my way to the library.
Okay, you're there.
Yep. probably spent some time gathering various books that I would hope, might stumble upon some information that might point us in the right direction in our further searches.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are doing here, but you do find that this is an impressive collection of not only just regular books, great literature of the time, great philosophy books, history books. You find, casual reading books, but this also has a very impressive occult section for a public, or I'm sorry, a private owner would have. This is not quite as extensive as what you saw in Arkham, but you can see Sally is also there, kind of looking through a few of the cult books and nodding and smiling, and you hear her at one point, "Oh, this edition," and she pulls it off and is flipping through the page. Oh, so there's those kinds of things there. Is there anything specific that you're maybe looking for?
Largely just probably trying to find anything that or about the Key of Solomon and uh, basically how we'd possibly be able to destroy it once we get
Yeah,
there. So that's
the only thing that you find in reference to that, and it's been cross-section, of course, if you ask anybody, they will all point you to the exact same book. It's a relatively older book, probably written in the 1700s, that talks a little bit about the Key of Solomon. This is more of a religious text talking about King Solomon himself and his great accomplishments and everything that he did for his people, the struggles that he had to go through in order to be one of the great rulers of the ancient days. And you do see this passage of, this scroll that he had created in hopes of controlling demons and hoping to control the great demon. Um, but after a great sandstorm, the scroll and many of Solomon's works were lost to the ages, and that's really all you have found about this. There's nothing here about luminaries. There's nothing here about how to destroy scrolls. But this book is kind of written not only as a bit of a religious book, but also it seems to be hyped up. You know how books will sometimes when they're writing talk about how great someone is and how they were the greatest person in the whole world and all of these things, and you kind of know from more recent studies that a lot of these times this is a little bit over exaggerated. So you don't really get any new knowledge from this.
well, like I said, I'd probably start looking through the occult section and seeing if I can find anything about undoing or destroying or obliterating spells. And
Okay. You do find some things that say that talk about undoing hexes, undoing curses, but a lot of times you see, you know, warnings. You do find one book that basically says, "Hey, these books are bad. It's a sin if you have these books. You need to destroy them, burn them, scatter the ashes. That's the only way to dispel Satan's evil on this world." So you see those kind of books and information. Is it going to help you here? You've got some information on stuff. What you do with it is going to be kind of up to you.
I see.
I think that if there was an easy way to destroy magic items, I'm sure everybody there at Section M would already know about it. But everyone's just kind of like, this is what we know. This is what we found.
So yeah, I think I'd probably gather me a good stack of books and sit down and kind of start looking through that.
Okay.
But may not be long before I'm looking at another smaller book and kind of forgetting
Oh,
about the
yeah.
stack before me.
Doc, what are you doing?
Did Pontus and Alfonso, my brain,
Antoine?
please, Antoine, thank you. Did they say that they had some idea about where a shipyard might be?
Yeah, they pointed you to the city of Horn,
Okay,
where
I
many, many, many ships were built
right.
back in the day.
I had a thought, and I wanted to try and track them down.
Okay, that you know that they went to the to the laboratories
Infirmary.
with Blisco.
Okay. I want to try and track somebody down. I don't know. So I had a thought. When I was young, there were shipwrecks off the Cape, like in the Cape Cod in that area, and so I figured that something that's 400 or 500 years is probably underwater. And I wonder if there's any places where there might be like underwater wrecks or something that we might be able to look into in and around Vorp.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you kind of wander that out. You've been looking at the map there in the center of the table, and you say, shipwrecks underwater, and you hear a man say, "Yes, yes, there are many shipwrecks all over these waters. Yes, very good."
who was the man?
Just one of the. It looks maybe it's the same guy that approached Carlos and told him to go take his gun outside.
So if you figure that a ship has been somewhere for 500 years, it's probably not going to be just sitting on land or floating in a dock. It's probably going to be sunken.
Maybe I don't know where you would begin to look for a sunken ship, and he
Nor
kind
do
of
I.
shows you the entire uh European map that they have with all the water everywhere. There are sunken ships all over this area. And he points to the Mediterranean. He's pointing up to, Norway and Finland. Good luck. It's like a needle in a haystack.
Hmm. I wish there was some sort of passive listening system that we could somehow perhaps send pulses of sound into the water. Oh, well, that
Would
doesn't exist.
Yep. Nope. Sorry, it does not.
would that guy be named George Montgomery Mouthpiece by any chance?
I don't think so. Reginald Fessenden invented sonar. Um, uh, Heinrich Hertz and Watson invented or were part of the people inventing radar. And then what's her name? I forget the actress's name.
Hedy Lamarr.
Eddie Lamar.
Hedy Lamarr invented a form of radar, although she was never credited for that at the time. So yeah.
Well, see, I have all these good ideas. I feel like I'm just years ahead of my time.
All right. So the dinner bell chimes. You all are given about 30 minutes to clean up, and then you're all go down to the main dining room, and it is exquisite. Carlos, this room looks more like something you're familiar with. Looks like kind of the same layout and decor of your father's main dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And there are places for all of you to sit. And at the head of the table is Alex Troughton, with other people scattered around the table. And down on the opposite end is the Brigadier. Sally's kind of in the middle, and you guys can sit wherever you like. As you all enter the room, Alex stands up. Gentlemen, welcome, welcome. We've got some very special guests. You may know this actress, Hedy Lamarr, is joining us this evening. Welcome. We want to welcome her, and very pleased that an actress of her caliber is here to join us. She's also very smart indeed. And so she stands up and she greets you. Some of you would recognize her instantly as actress Hedy Lamarr. And there are just some other people. There's an admiral there that they introduce you to. His name is let me see if I can find it really quick. Admiral Graham Grimmel. He is of the British Navy. He is also there with you. And then, of course, the rest of the usual suspects. There's Dr. Parker and Major Seraph. He is sitting in the darkest part of the room that he can, looking very glum, or maybe that part of the room just doesn't want to have any light shine upon him. There seems to be a dark aura surrounding him wherever he goes. So he just kind of sits and picks at his food. And the main course comes out, and it is a roast beef and Oh, this is very good, says the brigadier. Ah, I love it. It's great medium rare roast beef. I cannot wait to dig in. And of course, it's got potatoes and carrots, and there's gravy and all sorts of deliciousness. Is this something that that you, Carlos, are into eating?
Sure.
Yeah,
It's
Doc.
probably, yeah.
What about you?
Not so much with the carrots, but I can definitely do some of the vegetables and maybe a little beef.
Ah, okay. Valentino, what's the food like for you?
Oh, it's rich and hearty. I like a good roast,
Mm. And
particularly.
Blisco, you take a bite of the roast beef, and it tastes disgusting.
Mm,
It's like way overcooked.
But everyone else seems to be enjoying this.
Yeah,
Mm.
but this is like when your grandfather would accidentally burn the
Mhm.
steak, which sometimes happens. Chasing after you as a young child, and he wasn't paying attention to the grill, and he would burn the steak. But because it's good meat, you don't want to go to waste, and it's kind of crunchy and charcoaly. This is what this tastes like.
Mm. But it's looking perfectly
Looks
medium
like
rare.
meat. Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be medium rare, but it just is way overcooked.
Is it just nice and
Food's
moist and
food.
falling apart?
What's that?
Is it like nice and moist and falling apart?
Oh yeah, nice, moist, falling apart. Alex turns to you and says, "How do you like the maggots, Blisco? You're eating maggots." No, I'm kidding. Um,
Michael.
Ah,
but yeah, it tastes way overcooked for you.
perhaps
Mm.
we could interest you in some brains.
Yeah, I mean,
Vegetables taste fine. They may be a little bit too soft for what you're used to, but the meat definitely is way overcooked.
yeah. So Blisco will look very glum the entire meal, but grew up in the Great Depression. Food is food.
All right, so you ravenously eat all the potatoes and vegetables, and do you eat the
I
meat?
still eat the meat. Food is food.
Okay, all right. So yep, your grandfather taught you well, right? That you don't waste food. So you go ahead and down that as well. Your stomach's kind of like a little bit in response, but yeah, you're able to keep it all down. And there's laughter, and people are talking, and at first, Miss Lamar looked at you, Valentino, and said, "We've obviously worked together before, yes?"
No, I don't believe I'd done anything where we would have worked previously.
Are you sure?
Nah, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm can't say I've ever done anything in the entertainment industry.
No, you weren't an extra on Samson and Delilah,
Well, no.
White Congo,
No, I
Storm in the Water Glass. Surely we met on Storm in the Water
no,
Glass.
no, I can't. No, like I said, I've never been in any pictures.
Huh. Anyway, and then she turns to, I don't know, Pontus, and they have a fascinating conversation about scientific research and radio waves and movies and all of that stuff. And she recounts, you guys can kind of hear her regale people at that end of the table with making the transition from silent screen to talkies. And you all continue to eat dinner. Is there anything anybody wants to do at dinner?
But he really needs to go talk to that fella in the dark.
You want to go talk to? He's sitting right next to you.
Oh no, I don't want to go talk to him. I know
He's sitting
better
right
than
next to you.
Who was that? Was that the guy with the cape?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sarah.
Oh, is he's sitting right next to me? I'm going to try.
He's sitting right next to you. Yes.
Oh, yes, Major
Yes.
Nicholas Elias.
I'm aware. I've read your reports.
Oh, thank you. I have a question. I take it you're
Go ahead. And he kind of looks
Sure.
up at the ceiling like he's being imposed upon greatly. But then again, you also get the sense that this is how he treats everybody.
okay. Good. You're I suppose, magic user? Is there an appropriate term that I don't know?
They call me the White Witch Man. Yes.
When we were in Dover, we encountered a space that didn't seem quite right. What should have been a solid wall seemed to be more, at least for one of my compatriots, more of a thin sort of veil. And I wondered if you had heard of anything or if you were familiar with anything like that.
The doorways between worlds can show up anywhere. And the table kind of grows silent as he speaks. One knows not when something will pass through. Of course, where I'm from, tales of fairy and wee folk taking children in the middle of the night and transporting them to faraway lands are very common. Things of creatures and things of horror also slipping through are also common. I'm sure you understand that, Miss Armitage. And she nods. Yes, yes, I'm very aware. Veil between worlds. Be careful where you stick your fingers and poke your noses to. Yes, yes, yes. The theatrics are brilliant, Major Seraph. You're just brilliant. Yes, quite. And then he turns and looks at you again. He sits, even sitting, he's about a full head taller than you, Doc. Was there anything else you wanted to ask me?
Do you know of any legends of insects or creatures from beyond that might have come through?
There are tales of fantastic creatures coming through in all shapes and sizes. Some flying. You've probably heard of the gremlins that plague our pilots.
Met
You
one of
may
those.
have heard of Shoggoths, and at that point you kind of hear the general is startled by, I'm sorry, the brigadier is startled by the word Shoggoth, and he drops his knife right in the middle of trying to cut his roast beef, and he just kind of has the startled looks and looks at Seraph. Please, Major, please, I'm trying to eat.
Glance towards Armitage.
She just kind of smiles and nods, and she looks at you, and she cocks an eyebrow at you like, can you believe this guy? My people have been tasked with protecting the lands from those creatures that have come through the other side. Mostly I've dealt with boggans and changelings and wee folk. I've never seen a giant insect, nor do I hope to. Then he leans down and he gets really, really close to your face. He's staring you right in the eye. Quite frankly, they scare me. And then he sits back down and continues to pick at his food.
So it's good to have finally found someone weirder than me. I feel like that's nice.
You say that out loud?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
I turn and I whisper it to Carlos. Sorry.
Carlos, what's your reaction?
Oh. Carlos acknowledges it and smiles like you just said, nice weather we're having, because he doesn't want to let out that, the dog just poked fun at the other guy.
And Major Seraph leans back over to Doc and he says, whispers in your ear, I'm sitting right here and my hearing is very good.
Oh,
I have been known to cast a hex or two, so please mind your manners at the table.
all right.
Anything else at dinner time?
Nobody else has any problems with the meat.
I mean,
It's not like
it
just bad
tastes
English.
like meat to you, a little fatty, but boy, that's good English roast beef.
They boiled it
Why
for 14 hours.
why would you ask that? Or do you have a problem with the beef?
Do you
Do
have
I?
beef with the beef?
I got no beef. I got no beef with anybody.
All right, yeah, as far as you can tell, everyone's happily eating.
Just sitting here, hanging out.
Okay. Dessert comes and goes. There's more conversation. There's brandy and cigars for the men. Armitage and Lamar head off and do something with another woman that you never got her name. And then at the end of cigars, it's Alex's. Well, yes, it's getting late. The clock is rung 11, and we should probably all get to bed. You boys have a busy morning tomorrow.
He generally do.
Morris will show you to your rooms. Morris, and this butler that has been kind of ever present and is also the chauffeur. Follow me, gentlemen. And he leads you up like to the 4th floor. I mean, there's probably at least another floor above you where the servants are at. But up here on the 4th floor, you each get your own room, and it's got plumbing in there, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
And you all have some cushy poster beds with curtains. There's a fireplace in here, carpets and everything, paneling on the walls, and you can all lay down and go to sleep. Who do you think falls asleep first?
I mean, Dutch might, just because it's
Sure,
he's
Dutch.
back
You
in.
nuzzle.
Yeah, he's
down
back at
into the
a level of
covers.
comfort that
Yeah, that's a nice heavy blanket to keep the winter chill at bay. And you drift off to sleep, and the next thing you know, you're standing in an auditorium at a podium, and there are people all around the auditorium just standing and applauding you. And there's a warm spotlight shining down upon you. And you look down, and you have this prestigious award that says for leadership and strategic prowess in the Secret War. And that has been handed to you by General Eisenhower. And he's shaking your hand and saying, "Good job, son. Good job." And then you turn, and President Roosevelt is standing there, and he walks over to you, and he hands you another award. And this one says for work helping with the poor and feeding the hungry and using your vast wealth to do this. And even President Roosevelt claps you on the back. "Great job, son. Great job. This is something that our people need to see, that the rich are not out of touch and that they do care about their fellow man. Good job. Good job." And people are just applauding Carlos as you receive these 2 awards.
Wave. Thank you.
Yeah, look, you can see Valentino and Bug Eater and Doc are there in the crowd, and they're all smiling and giving you thumbs up and waving at you. And, Blisco puts his fingers in his mouth and gives you a big whistle. And then you look and you see, here comes your cousin. Your cousin is walking up to you on the stage, and, "Oh, hello, cousin. I just want to congratulate you on the fantastic work that you've been doing. Good job. Good job." And you notice that he is dressed exactly like you. And you notice that his hair is combed exactly the way that you comb your hair. And his stance and his mannerisms almost mirrors yours exactly.
Smart kid.
And then a shadow darkens the room as the sun outside is blocked, and all the windows go dark, and the people in the auditorium stop applauding, and they look around in fear, and you see a couple people run out of the room in terror. And then all you hear is this loud, menacing laughter echoing throughout the chamber. And it's enough to wake you up. And when you wake up, you hear a plane flying overhead from the nearby Air Force Base.
Oh. Looks like I had a little bit too much cream with my roast beef. What do they put on? You said gravy? Yeah, too much gravy.
Yeah, that's probably it. Too much fat.
Mint chili.
Yeah. Who is probably next to fall asleep?
Probably Doc.
All right, Doc. You start a fire there in the fireplace. It's a little chilly in this room. And you sit down in the chair next to the fireplace and just watch the flames crackle. And you slowly start to drift off to sleep. And then suddenly you are kind of startled, and you notice that you find yourself in a immense, dimly lit library. And the shelves stretch on endlessly, and they are filled with ancient, leather-bound books. There are scrolls that emit faint glows. The musty mildew smell is strong in the air.
I love that smell so
There's
much.
also kind of like this iron smell, like maybe blood. You know how blood, it kind of has that smell to it. This
I
is a
could
library
say I
that,
love that smell so much too, but that would be creepy.
and as you continue to walk down the rows and rows of books, you see a light down towards one end, and you hear a voice down there.
Hello?
Nicholas Helias, welcome, welcome. And you go down and you see Herbert West standing there amid stacks and stacks of books all opened up. I'm so glad that you have found me. And I'm so glad that you have followed in my footsteps as I try to bring the dead back to life. Please come and share the vast knowledge with me. And you can see there's some glowing green stuff on the table.
Ooh.
And then you notice that the shadows of the library start to move. And there are these figures that emerge from the shadows, these grotesque figures, rotting, decaying men and women in various states of decay. Eyes are sunken in, some are missing eyes, some are missing limbs, chest cavities splayed open, the tops of heads opened up. West, West. And they're all like reaching out to him, kind of like he is some kind of messiah figure, and they're all reaching out to touch him. Come, Elias, join me. Join me in the spectacle. And you hear, meow. And you look down, and there's a grossly decayed black cat rubbing itself up against your leg. It's got matted fur falling out in places. It's missing one eye, and it just leaves this gooey residue on your leg where it's rubbing up against you. And then you hear the sound of a woman crying. God, no.
Do I know the voice?
Do you know the voice?
I think I do.
You turn and you look, and it's a woman curled up in the corner. She's crying and sobbing, and you can tell that she's horribly grief-stricken. And she's just crying, I only wanted to love you. And then you hear Herbert West go, and it startles you awake as you hear a plane flying overhead from the Air Force Base. Who's next?
Sit right up.
Yes, I'll go. It does take Blisco a while. He's writing over the dinner situation.
Yeah. It does take you a while to fall asleep. You're kind of tossing and turning, and this bed is maybe a little bit scratchier than what you're used to back home with your grandmother's quilts that she's made for you.
Mm.
But then it feels like you're standing in really tall, soft grass, and you feel like running, and you're just running and running and running across this vast expanse of plains. And it feels free. It feels fun. It feels joyous to be able to run unfettered by anything holding you back. And then you hear a man screaming.
Run towards the screaming.
Yeah, you run towards the screaming, and as you approach the screaming, you see 3 men standing there. One is Alex Towton, and he is swinging a cane, and he is surrounded by ghouls that are all trying to lunge out at him and grab him. On the ground, some ghouls are eating another man, and you recognize that man as Admiral Graham Grimmel. He is lying there in a lifeless mass as the ghouls just tear apart his flesh and consume it and swallowing it and laughing with their menacing laugh. And behind Towton is a heavy-set man. He's balding, and he's sitting, kind of patting Towton on the shoulder. There, man. Don't show them fear. Stand up to them. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. And then as he says, you'll be fine that last time, he kind of looks up, and you also look up and you see in the distance these vast mountains. And the mountains go up and up and up. And atop the highest peak, you see a giant figure robed in tattered yellow cloth. He is looking over everything that he sees, and he waves his hand, and you see again down below all these men in red robes kind of now encircling you, the ghouls, the 3 men, or the 2 men and the 1 body, and they are chanting. And then you hear the man dressed in yellow say, "You are welcome any time," and then starts laughing. And then you wake up as you hear a plane flying overhead from the Air Force Base. Blisco, you're sitting there in your room, and you've just had this nightmare of a dream. And you look over and you see the box that contains Prototype X1. Was there something you wanted to do with Prototype X1?
Need to disassemble, reassemble, make sure everything is correct, and figure out what I've got.
Yeah, sure enough, you open up the case, and as you're taking apart the parts that you know you can take apart, you notice that it's been tampered with. It looks like some other people have, in the 5 days that it has not been in your possession, that someone or some ones have been messing around with your gun, and you don't know what they have done with it, but it does introduce a new problem for your guns, which you guys should be seeing right now. Lightning gun mishaps. So every time that you use Prototype X1 going forward, you will need to roll a die. Looks like it's a 5-sided die, which I don't know how that works, but whatever.
Says complications rolled.
Complications rolled. Yes. So if you roll a complication or multiple complications, and remember, as you increase your momentum, as you increase the difficulty, as does the complication range also extends.
Mhm.
So you have the potential to overheat your weapon or lose power to your weapon. There could be a fault that gets developed or a burnout. It could have a dangerous discharge, or it could explode completely and get destroyed. So it could overload and just kablowy. So those are things that you need to be aware of as you start to roll complications with your weapon. For everything else that you can tell, looks like it's still working and manageable, and looks like there is still a full charge of the weapon in there, from what you can tell of your extensive Blower crystal knowledge.
Well, that's positive, I guess.
Yeah.
How many crystals do we have?
You only have the 1.
Let me use this sparingly again.
Yeah. You could probably get, I don't know, 6 to 8 shots off, maybe.
Yep, use it sparingly again.
All right, you tuck it away and you try to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
You
Wanna
tuck it,
be
you
up
tuck it under your
early.
pillow and you hold it close to you all night, like you're.
It is
tucking your-
definitely underneath my bed.
Valentino, you finally get to sleep. It's been
Yeah,
been a good reunion with you and Antoine, and you've
Yeah,
been
I
sharing
feel
some of
like
your stories with him. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. We'd probably spend a good while speaking before just being exhausted, nodding off, and
Yeah.
or just having to drag myself to bed and just kind of probably passing out face down, mostly clothed.
Yeah, you kind of remember just kind of stumbling into the bedroom still with your clothes on, and you fall right into bed, but instead of hitting the bed, you land in the middle of a forest in Kentucky. And there's no moon in the sky, and it's very dark, and the trees are tall and their branches are twisting and turning and kind of feel like they're reaching out towards you, and there's this weird smell of death all around you.
Yeah. Hello? Anyone around?
Hello.
Oh, hey.
And you hear it's coming from to your left, and as you walk over that direction, you see a clearing. And in the clearing, you see a lake, and the voice seems to be coming from the water.
Who's out there?
Don't you know?
Not quite sure.
Come closer then.
Okay. Where are you?
I'm here. I'm always here. Get to the edge of the lake and you look down and you see yourself. A reflection of yourself. And yourself just looks back at you and says, why do you continue to hide? Why do you continue to avoid what you know is true?
Well, that's, I think, unfortunately, the way things gotta be.
But you're rejecting me. You're rejecting us.
Well, still try to fight for us as best we can, but
You need to do better, Nathaniel. And at that point, you feel branches brushing up against your back, and these branches start to wrap around you and start to pull you back into the dark forest, and any leaves that are on the branches, as you look at them, they turn into faces. You see your mother, your father, you see Antoine, Pontus, and they're just whispering, come back, come back. Come back to where it's safe. And the branches are kind of squeezing you harder and harder and harder. And you can just hear the voice from the lake start to laugh. And you wake up as a plane is flying over Kenneth Park from the Air Force Base. Critical Hit Punch All Nazis is a production of Major Spoilers Entertainment and was produced and edited by me, Steven Schleicher. If you would like to get a behind-the-scenes making of this episode, be sure to check out the GM Roundtable Octoon Cthulhu Edition at our Patreon page, patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Each week I discuss my plans for the upcoming game session, and Dr. Brad Will is there to share his reactions and advice on how to be a better game master. I will warn you, though, there are spoilers galore in every installment of the GM Roundtable Octoon Cthulhu Edition. So, if you don't like spoilers and don't want to know what I am planning next, don't listen to these episodes. Though, I will say, if you do listen, you'll be able to see how and where the players throw a wrench into my plans, and you're also going to have greater insight into the world that's being built into this campaign. Finally, we want you to record yourself doing your best on Critical Hit and send it to us at podcast@majorspoilers.com, and your voice will join the growing chorus of fans in upcoming episodes as well. Thank you again for listening this week, and here's hoping all of your dice rolls are critical hits.
This podcast is copyright 2024 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.